All right, we got some massive inflation news today, and it seems like there might be something going on with the Tesla board and Elon's new stock compensation. First of all, if you're enjoying the content, I'm doing a lot more daily vids because my setup's a lot easier. I've got a new mic, everything's set up, hopefully fine. Hit subscribe, hit like for that. Now, first, like Tesla's down what, a percent or two today. The general market's just in a little bit of a recovery mode. We'll see how tomorrow goes. By the way, I might live stream tomorrow too, so stay tuned for that and hit notifications. But today, this morning, we got some massive producer purchase index, aka inflation on the producer side, demand side, news. And essentially, for the first time since April of 2020, we are seeing lowering month over month PPI, core PPI. And now, essentially, what this means is the Fed was a lot too late, and still is too late, to cut rates. And so much so that we're seeing actually prices go down month over month. Now, remember, PPI matters a lot more than CPI. We talk about CPI on this channel, consumer side, but PPI matters a lot more to the Fed. If you ask the Fed, and I think if you read their notes on a monthly basis, they cite PPI as one of their main data metrics that they use to decide rate cuts or rate increases. So that's something to take a note. And so the market's reacting a little bit like, damn, the economy is on the brink of a recession, yet the Fed isn't lowering rates. Is the Fed essentially going to drag us into a recession? Is kind of what's going on at the moment. And so, as we sit here, we talk about Tesla. Keep that in mind, right? That the macro economy matters a lot for, especially the Mag 6 companies, right? Microsoft, Nvidia, Facebook. So it's Apple, Google, whatever, Tesla. So, anyways, it's something to keep in mind here because this is an overarching problem that we're seeing with the economy right now. Now, at the end of the day, I'm not too worried about it. I think the Fed will make their rate cuts. They're going to be deliberately late because they don't want to be seen as being political or trying to save the ship too soon. But something to keep in mind for sure. Now, yesterday we also got some news about Tesla's board and potentially having a new compensation plan for Elon. Now, I'm starting to think it's of course, the run-up has to do with robotaxis and new affordable line vehicles and perhaps gross margin not being so bad during earnings. But how much of this might be behind the scenes hedge funds finding out that on that news, do you guys remember a couple weeks ago when we got that news that they're looking to replace Elon, blah, blah, blah? What if that was just a conversation the board had with Elon saying, like, what are you worth? Let's go out there and let's look at comps or let's do our due diligence because we're a board, we have to. What are you worth? Like, if we were to hire, like, what would it cost us? And not because they're looking to replace Elon, but because they can put a number to the metric on his comp plan, which seems like is now starting to leak. Meaning, if it's starting to leak now, this conversation was probably happening a few months ago at this point. And so, could it be that there's a new compensation plan in the works for Elon? We know that judge in Delaware, and there's that whole issue there. We don't have to get into that at the moment. But it seems like Elon's next compensation plan, and Elon was told by the board, hey, we need you here more. Elon said, great, after May, I'll only have to be in doing White House work for a couple of days a week. But I'm back after that, essentially. Could the board have said, great, Elon, we appreciate that. Now what we would like is to make sure that you get your compensation plan finalized. And for that, we want to make sure that you're compensated and that you feel motivated when you come here and whatnot. Because Elon has publicly said that. In fact, he replied to my tweet a year and a half ago at this point, talking about his compensation plan and how it's something that, just because he owns equity doesn't mean that he shouldn't be getting paid for his work. That, by the way, that was a crazy simulation when Elon replied to me 2 or 3 times on that thread, and it was all over CNBC. And man, what a crazy! Sometimes I just gotta blink a little bit and think about that, which is kind of crazy because that made front page news everywhere, right? Tesla stock dip on Elon threatening to leave or whatever the headline was. Anyways, so that's a big piece of news. And the last one I'll leave you on, and this is quite big, is unfortunately for all of us, Jim Cramer has come out and publicly endorsed Tesla. He said, hey, Tesla is a buy. Now, actually, I'm going to get some coffee here. Unfortunately, this has happened. Jim Cramer has said now, hey, is Tesla stock a buy? I think so. And that leaves us in kind of a predicament as a Tesla investor now, unfortunately, because now we're in a position where after the 25% run up that we've seen or whatever in the last 2 or 3 weeks, now we got Jim Cramer on our side. So is it a coincidence Tesla stock's down 2% on the day after he says this? Man, this guy is undefeated. Okay, he could run an ETF. He could start a ETF tomorrow. Everything that he picks, just pick the opposite side of it, and I bet you it would do better than Warren Buffett over the long run. Much love. Yash signing off. Hit subscribe on your way out. Peace.